Well, hello, everybody. We're back.
What's up?
It's good to see you, my man. We were just going over how incredible it is to hear our own voices in these headphones.
Yeah, I lost it when he said it.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It's just so good to hear your own voice.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, like when you get locked in and it's like, okay, it's go time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's both fulfilling and a challenge.
Yeah. I think your own tone of your voice can be relaxing and soothing if it's in the right context of how you're trying to talk to yourself or convey a message.
Well, can you imagine, you look back a few years, maybe 5, maybe 10 years, if somebody would have said, hey, you got to sit here and talk for 60 minutes to 120 minutes or something, and then you got to go listen to it. You're going to hear your own voice. You remember that feeling?
Well, the first time we did it and I played it in the car, which is, so badass to put it, and then the logo appears and you're like, man, I'm pulling this from iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening, which I think that alone is just crazy to think about, And then here's the logo sitting on my screen, and then it's like, I'm listening to my voice. I'm like, okay, do I sound like that? But I really nitpicked at myself of what I used to, like, saying things and how I said stuff. That's where I was like,
right.
Oh, you stop saying that shit. Like,
right. Yeah, I catch myself, like, whenever I curse a whole lot, I've started to really catch it. Like, God, this sounds so ugly. Like, there's a time and a place for everything.
yeah.
But, for the longest time, it was every other word was F this, and it just
Stages.
It was like I already had the propensity in me from being a young skateboard, punk rock, whatever, metal kid. That was part of the vernacular, these colorful words. And then as you get older, you start to realize that I've learned a lot. I've been through a lot. I know a decent amount of stuff. Maybe I don't need that colorful language to help describe things quite as often.
Yeah.
It's just something that I recognized. No different than if you said, man, I don't really sit up whenever I'm on camera.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You just notice these things about yourself. And I think that really sort of lends itself to what, at least we're going to talk about for a little bit today. And that is owning yourself, right? Owning the things that you say, taking full responsibility for your actions. Or how about when your words lead to actions by other people? Now you got to tell yourself you can't control what other people are doing, but you damn sure have an effect on how they view their day, right? How they view their personal interactions, and maybe how they feel when they go home at the end of the day after work or after, whatever they're doing. The things that we say, Jeff, you and I, and everybody else that's out there, it has ripples.
Yeah.
It's no different than if you go to the store and you're having a great day and you see somebody say, hey, how you doing? You hold the door, versus you walk a little slower just because you don't really feel like opening the door because you're in a crappy mood.
Yeah.
Same thing. That person probably thinks, oh, well, maybe they're going to get the door for me, and then you're not, and then it causes something else. And I'm rambling, but you know what I mean.
Well, no, it's exactly like you said. It's like throwing the pebble, the stone into the water, and the ripple effect. It's you each day are the pebble, the stone, and what you do coincidentally does have an effect on others, even if it doesn't. You don't directly see it.
Yeah, totally.
The person you may have cut off trying to speed to work or whatever, you might put them in a bad mood. Well, then they take that mood and then they bring it to work, and then coworker, client, or whatever, take it home. It's a never-ending effect versus if you take time and think about what cause am I going to create by the ripple in what I do.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a greater understanding, of that.
I agree. If you could see, a few hours into the future prior to your action, and if you could see two windows, maybe, if you will, and on one screen you were decent and the other screen you weren't, and to see now that other person, maybe they're not being decent anymore, right? And you can see if you take this and just by a factor of 10, you've already touched hundreds of people, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be that person or the people that they come into contact. And let's just say you think about that in your community. How many people could you affect in a positive or negative manner just by your demeanor, in a single day? And now that can now replicate, if you will, out into the ether, people using their phones, people posting on social media. Well, now they're going to post something that's a little nicer, a little more friendly. It's not quite as confrontational, maybe.
Yeah.
right? And I mean, I've been on both sides of that fence.
Yeah, I think social media, especially, you can drum up many emotions in people, especially if you're someone that has a following,
Yeah.
where you have a greater impact to make a bigger ripple. Me and you, if we post, we're making small waves, but we're still making waves regardless. Sure. Even if you have no followers on social media, you still make ripples because it's still out there for others to see. But those who have like big social media followings and put so much stuff out there where it could be twisted, construed, or be negative, or put hate or anger, you're just fueling fire. Now, that might be a message you're trying to get across in whatever manner to get other people to see a side, take a stance. And I get that, like, around voting time or big electoral things or big life things going on. I understand those, but yeah, those causes of what you do when you post those words, paragraphs, it can be cool. Made some little ripples, which maybe those rock the boat enough to kind of create some thought process for somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Or are you creating a tsunami where it's just this massive tidal wave where you're hoping that it brings destruction? Well, that's where a lot of people got to think about in what you post. What kind of message am I trying to convey? Am I trying to build a point to awaken somebody, open their eyes to the truth, or to see the falses that they're seeing? Am I just trying to speak? Am I trying to better somebody? Or am I just trying to tell a story for my own sake?
Right.
Yeah,
man.
Many ways to go about it. But it's a good way of putting it. Like, one thing on social media since it came about, I can probably look back and I didn't become an internet troll, didn't comment. If someone posted something stupid, I'll read it and I just don't like or don't comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
things I do like, I share things like, I do daily quotes daily. I share other stuff I think will have meaningful things to people. And that's also why on my social media too, I've stopped following a lot of accounts that just don't bring any enrichment into my life.
Right. Yeah.
I still follow some famous CrossFitters, lifters, influential people, but a lot of it's a lot of Stoic philosophy, kind of Taoism stuff, mindset, getting into that realm. Some science things because it's just cool to read and be like, holy shit, look what I learned today.
Yeah,
but
right.
Lessening or people that I know and you want to see what's up to them, but not just following somebody because, oh man, they were big at this or that. It's like, cool, what were you providing me other than I just thought it was cool to watch you work out or do what you do. If there's no enriching that comes into my life from what you bring to your account, I just don't follow. And that's not mean, but...
Right. Well, there's everything, like I said earlier, everything's got its time and place.
Mm-hmm.
There are times and places when you and I need something that aren't the same as another time or place.
Yes.
Right? Whether we're 30 years old or 40 or 20, you have different needs. You may be able to lump them into this general basket, but we change.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that we want to interact with change. So I think that's no harm, no foul.
No.
And I think that if somebody gets butthurt about that kind of thing, well, they got a lot more work to be doing that we're not even touching.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I've lost followers, which, and my heart, everybody does.
I do every day.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, whatever. But it's one of those things, it's like social media is a bigger presence than your actual voice because in reality, your true voice of speaking is not going to go for. Now, you and I doing this, it can go a hell of a lot further because it's put to the masses. But if we were just sitting here talking at a table, it's not going nowhere.
No.
And even if we went and told a person, cool, we told two, it's still going to be a small ripple because odds are the story will eventually just stop.
Sure.
But social media, it's stuck. It's not going anywhere. Most people use hashtags. You're going to expand upon it. So that blame that a lot of people like to put out there sometimes, like as you were starting off to say, it really comes back that if you back up and read what you're putting, you can be blamed for some of your own misconstrued things. Which,
can be, should be, often.
I'd say majority of the time it is. But then there are times, where it's things that, maybe it's outside of our control, but you're kind of telling it from your point and kind of maybe trying to bring awareness to a situation or something that.
Right. But even when something isn't our fault,
we always still push the blame.
We still think that blame needs to go elsewhere to help us improve or to get better in the moment or the day or whatever. So what about this? What if even when you're right about being right and somebody else is wrong, can we still be right? Can we still be wrong?
I think even when you are right, you are wrong.
Right.
So,
it depends on how you portray that. It depends on all that, right?
Yeah, like kind of stoic way or a little mixture of both of that. Stoics would put it that it'd be like me and you in an argument. There's no point in me trying to prove my point to be right because all I'm doing is lessening myself to get onto your level for you to see what I see, which is truth. So I am wrong.
Sure.
And then from the Taoist view, and that kind of Buddhist view is you believe what you want, I'll believe what I want, even if one is right, one is wrong. We both have an opinion. You should just take it and absorb it and leave it.
Yes.
My job is not to convince you to sit here and go, Jeremy, it is this. There's no other way. It is that, and that's it on blown. Cool. You believe that. I take that in, opens and expands my horizon. I see a different view. Even if it is completely wrong, proven wrong, I still take it in, let you be, because what harm did I prove to you if I
Exactly.
do? Unless it's something really off the wall where it could cause some harm or something. Yeah, but
physical injury.
Most arguments aren't that.
Right.
They're just stupid ego, and who has the biggest ego and who's going to push the longest will then consume the other. Henceforth, even if you're the right, you're the wrong.
So if we stop blaming other people, or if we stop getting mad at other people, we stop yelling, whether internally or externally, about other people or other things that aren't within our legitimate control, right? Mm-hmm. Within a hand's reach. And we turn that focus within, and we start to realize and we start to live like the person that knows, hey, I'm more responsible for being angry than I've liked to admit it in the past. I'm more responsible for being upset than I've ever given myself credit for. We're very, very powerful beings. We can talk ourselves into a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Good and bad, right? So if we start focusing more on us and we stop focusing more on everybody else, eventually that periphery gets pretty freed up, and you stop noticing and stop having to make what you may call it. When you stop looking at others and you start looking within, you eventually become more skilled at doing exactly what you do in meditation. You flick things away. Get back to the periphery. I don't need you.
Yeah.
Get away from me. I don't need you. You know?
What was it? Was it today? Was I reading it? I'm trying to think here. But yeah, like, it was Rogan, whoever he interviewed, I think just in the past week, talked about the same thing of when someone argues or says something that, is not useful or you don't agree with, I don't even listen to it. It's just like goes in and I just picture it flopping on the floor. I take it in and I'll sit here and listen to you as a respectful human, but it just falls out the other side.
Right.
Because it is not useful to me. It does no benefit to me. It's just.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And if on the flip side of that, the more we blame, the more we look externally, like we've talked about before, the more we point fingers, the better at it we get.
Yeah.
Right. You can become a swordsman, a skilled swordsman of words when it comes to protecting your own ass. I mean,
and there are people out there that they can say mouth off the next minute and twist the words to dig them out of a hole the next.
I've watched it.
It's a con, man.
I've watched it personally. I've seen people say one thing and do the other.
I think it's huge in the business world. It's huge everywhere, but
yes,
business,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I know that I can take a lot from this subject because I am just as guilty as anybody of doing this very thing.
Everyone is.
We all are. So I say that in hopes that you understand. I'm not trying to say that Jeff and I are better. Not by a long shot. It's just that we're realizing some things, and this is one of them. It's if you were alone with your thoughts, let's just say for 10 minutes, that's a pretty basic time that we meditate, about 10 minutes.
Introduction to meditation
sure.
time frame.
And I would go as far as to say if you can start with 5 minutes. If you can't go 30 seconds in a meditation without another thought entering your brain, what do you think you can do out in the world when there are 1,000 things going on at the same time, all vying for your attention? So I'll go back again, and I know that we harp on this a lot, but the meditations help with this very subject.
Mm-hmm.
Meditating helps you be able to step back from the scenario and think about it more objectively.
Yeah.
You know, I am not seeing this the way that this other person's trying to get me to see it. It's causing grief. It's causing anger, whatever. Next step, what do I have to do to become more pliable in this situation, right?
True.
So what can we do, you know?
So funny you bring this topic today, and Sam Harris's daily meditations today was on recalling a moment in your life that you regret.
I heard it.
And I was like, I got done working out this morning, came in before I had to train my client, and I was like, okay, I got about like 30 minutes before he gets here. So I was like, I'm going to do 10 minutes meditation, or sometimes I'll pull another one up, or sometimes even do the 20 ones or the longer ones that he has in the app.
Right.
Man, that was one I was like, God, of all days, I'm going to use this to really just get a deep relaxation. And it's like, man, it sucked because it did not pull me into deep relaxation. It got the mind wandering, and then it pulls those emotions. He's like, okay, think of a time that you regret.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get angry, raise your voice, fight, something at a job? He goes, kind of gives you examples, then, pauses as he does. What emotions are you feeling? What does that drum up? And I'm just laying there flat out on the floor like a starfish. And I'm like, dude, why is it going to be this? And then it kind of pulls he kind of pulled the metaphysical aspect stuff in, which really gets you into digging into people who've wronged and hurt you and thinking of those moments and forgiveness. And it's a kind of probably what Nate does a little bit. And the
pranic healing.
Yeah, and the pranic healing and the energy is digging into areas that you don't recall on a day-to-day basis, let go. But that's kind of what that pulled today. I was like, oh, man, all right, here we go. And just pulled a few instances, nothing major. And it's like, okay, yeah, does it make me feel good and this and that? Man, I got done and I felt so drained. I was like, okay, let's find another one that will pull this back out. And that's what I did.
I did the same thing.
So it's like, but I was like, I was not prepared for that. But you never know what those are going to be. But it teaches you when you have to do like a metaphysical type of meditation or regret ones.
Yeah.
Any of the ones that really cause the mind to have to think versus when most meditation is teaching you kind of let thought go and be free. Those are very difficult because you're pulling in negative, hard thoughts and dwelling on them while trying to be in a relaxive state of mind and body and keep those emotions at bay. And I think that's why he does that and why they have the different types of meditation. So it really pulls you into a dueling battle of, okay, I'm trying to mentally and physically relax, but yet I'm drumming up hard emotions, which does not allow that. And you need to dissipate it in the thought process of meditation.
Yeah.
Dissipate the anxiety or whatever may come to the physical aspect to really pull the body down. So then if another instance of the similar matter comes up, you don't recreate the moment of, oh, I regret this. You pull back what you've meditated, the thoughts, the feelings that drum up from that. I don't want to do that again, so let's go to this.
So I know you took this from it as well. You didn't say it in so many words, but I'm going to say it for you, and please chime in as needed. So I'm listening to that, and I get the same thing. I'm like, gosh, damn it, man. It's like freaking early in the morning. I'm trying to pick my day off. And I say, you know what? No, I'm going to do this. There's a reason why he's telling me, remember something negative, now sit with the feeling. He also said in there, if you remember, as you sit with these feelings, notice how they dissipate on their own.
Yes.
So you drum them up, or they just land there, how they did today. They just land there. You think of the scenario, and then you say to yourself, wait a minute, the feeling's going away. I didn't do anything. I've just been sitting here with that feeling. Mm-hmm. That feeling is now gone. So if I get into a situation out in the real world and I start to feel those feelings, if I just let myself realize that this too shall pass, you become a better person immediately.
Yeah. And right? I think in the beginning when he started talking, because I went in with the mindset of, man, I'm going to get full relaxed. Like I get to, like I said before, I feel like I'm floating, flying.
Totally.
I get so relaxed with it. And I was like, man, that'll be a good calm down from the workout, a good re-energizing aspect before training and heading on to work for the day. And then, I had that preconceived notion in my head. So one, I already created this picture. Then here I come in and here's Sam's voice. I'm like, oh man, you son of a bitch.
Right.
Here's what we got to do today. But it's exactly that. As those emotions and thoughts came in, it was still focusing on the breath, laying there, eyes closed. I can picture kind of the moment, and then it's just like, breathe, and it just flows.
Yeah.
You're inhaling those thoughts and emotions. They're swirling, but you're bringing in the good, and then you're flushing out with the exhale.
Yeah, totally, man. It's not a bad place to be.
No, and those are things, as you guys hear us say this, as crazy as it sounds, it's a good thing to do from time to time. If you have Sam's app, you can find it, or meditation, things that kind of pull in thoughts and feelings or people or emotions. Those are good to do from time to time to work yourself up in a controlled manner on your own, and then letting your body learn how to dissipate it, relax it, and ease it out. So if you are encountered in one of those situations again, you don't blow up or whatever may have happened. It goes and goes. It just passes.
Yeah, it dissipates. It just like mist, just goes away. And it's funny because after I let that feeling dissipate, I tried to do it again. Same feeling. Feeling wouldn't come back. Feeling would not come back. It was almost like my body was like, hey, we're sort of like, we don't know how this synapse goes because this feeling is supposed to trigger this, but it didn't do anything. You just let it go away. And now my body's going, well, here it is again. There's a big plate of anger.
Yeah.
How would you like to eat it? And I'm not hungry anymore.
It's no different than talking about social media, different baskets at different times of your life. It's certain emotions at certain points of your life will drum up things, but you eventually get to a point, if you deal with those emotions in the mindset of meditation or just therapy, or there's many other ways to do it, that you deal with that when those come again, it literally will be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. It just does nothing to you.
Right.
You become numb in a good way versus the reactive way, which that previous emotion would have brought on.
Yeah. And I tell you, I've never lived a life in 44 years where it wasn't emotionally charged on the front end of the reaction. I've known no other way. So I know in jobs, I give an opinion, but it was so emotion charged and not well thought out in a logical point that it would be frowned upon.
Well,
Good idea, poor execution. Like, you can't bring it to the table like that. Like, hey, it's a great idea, and you guys are fucking dumb.
Well, you brought it with an ego. You want people to all, like, as soon as they hear, oh my God, it's the best idea ever, and they just jump.
Totally.
It's one of those, I got an idea. What do you guys all think?
No
different. No, I've worked with people who have that, and it's just like, oh, this is the greatest idea in the world. No, there's some flaws to that. No, this is good. Did we think of anything? Nope. That's it. Okay, we're just going to go this line. It's like you would have better consistency and, better relationships, but that's another time, day type thing. But no, it's all in how everything's conveyed when you're getting those emotions. But I'll tell you guys, like I said, give it a shot. Sit and, carve out some time. Don't set a timer. Find somewhere peaceful. Sit and meditative. Sit in the couch, chair, favorite spot, lay on the floor, and think about something that you regret. Anything you want, or a small event. Don't go crazy deep, because if you're not used to this, it'll really drain you and pull you down. Yeah. Think of something small. Think of a conversation, or you raised your voice, a little incident that you can just be like, it's not a real big deal in grand scheme. Think about it. Recall in your head. Picture the emotions. What emotions did you feel? And kind of, you don't got to listen, but think about the emotions. What did you feel at that time frame when whatever was going on? Sit and be quiet. Don't talk to yourself. Try and let the head be quiet. See if they come in and out.
Yeah.
And see, okay, now recall that same event, and what would you have done differently now that you've done it, been there? You see the emotion that's pulled to you, and potentially the emotions that might have pulled to the other person, and then let that new scenario play out. What new emotions do you feel because you did not give the same reaction? How do you feel now with that? Let those good emotions come in, run through, run rampant, and then again sit there in just quietness. And then, open your eyes from that little stent, and then just see how you feel. You will have played two scenarios out, weighing good and bad emotions. They'll all flow in. You'll recreate that same event with new positive ones and new, better emotional feelings, and you'll probably come out. You'll hit a little lull and low point in the meditative state, and then you're going to come up and be like, okay, I feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice whenever you get done, when you wrap these meditations up, it really is a feat, to be able to sit there for even 5 minutes as a human in 2021 and just have no thoughts. And if you do have thoughts, the ability to flick them out of your head and just, all right, let's move on to the next blank space. That's really, that's saying a lot, and you should be very, very proud of yourself if you can get yourself to that point.
Yeah.
And if you can't get yourself to that point, keep trying.
Well, I think the hardest part of the thought processes of when we're doing something is the I and me that we bring into everything.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part. Everyone, and this is us included, when you're having a conversation with someone, you're subconsciously thinking of the I and the me and what they're talking about, how you can relate it. How, if you want to one-up it or whatever it may be, we always have thoughts of I and me versus just taking in and thinking of it as the whole. Kind of blending with nature, flowing, as we said before. You're the water flowing down the banks. You're just going with it.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of got to do in your thought process in your day-to-day life is to remove the I and the me, which is so hard because the I and the me is typically associated with the ego. Most people have inflated egos or have some type of ego. You really got to remove that aspect of it and kind of see the picture as a whole.
Yeah. The less that you can rely on others or other things, and the more you can rely on yourself, your internal fortitude and moral compass and all those things that we've grown up learning about and trying to grasp, the better of a person you're going to become for yourself. The better person you become for yourself, the better person you become for other people. When you can sit there in a conversation with your wife who thinks just batshit crazy about something, but you can listen, you can analyze, you can form your own opinion if you want, or you can just listen, as opposed to reacting and maybe fueling a situation that you really aren't going to want to have happen. You just become a better person. And I don't mean a better person like you're always going to be the one to pick up the trash on the ground. I mean, inside, you're going to become a different, more flexible person. And flexibility, you ask anybody in the military, that's the key. That's what they say. Flexibility is the key. You want to go bitch about it? That's fine, but flexibility is the key. And really, that sort of translates into civilian life, too. Just nobody talk to you about it. But if you can't be pliable like water, if you can't be fluid, if you can't be flexible, then you can't have an open mind. And if you don't have an open mind, well, a lot of the things that Jeff and I talk about, you won't even bring them to the table, right? You have to have that open mind. And let's also piggyback that by saying, if you go within for comfort and to calm yourself down, as opposed to yelling and swinging for the fences, literally, and you stop looking for other people for other things, maybe. Hold on.
Camera's flashing at
you. Oops. Had a technical difficulty there. My bad. So if you're no longer looking at other people to help you with those internal issues, maybe you stop going to other people just for boredom. Maybe you stop some bad habits that are just purely boredom based. I mean, I think that what I'm trying to say here is that it's a crescendo, if you will, or it builds, right? It goes up and down. It's that wave. And if you cannot ride the wave down with some form of control, how will you ever ride the wave up? How? I've seen it firsthand. You crash and burn.
I think of it in the terms of exactly how you're saying up, down, as you get stuck in a way of life if you don't see what needs correcting. And I don't know what this snake is called. It's got an actual name. It's been used throughout history. It's a snake that's eating its tail.
Oh, gotcha.
And so it's just, everyone, for sake of simplicity, it's a snake. It's a circle. It's trying to eat its tail.
Yeah.
It constantly attempts to eat its tail. All it's going to do is shrink the circle. But the thing is, there's no beginning, no end, in a sense. So if you're stuck in, like what Jeremy's saying, is you don't change these emotions, these thoughts, all this thing you're doing, you're constantly eating at your own tail.
Yeah.
You're going nowhere. You're just continuing to try. And the snake here, it's the long snake. Oh, cool. Cool. I got a little bit more of me. Eventually, you just stop.
Yeah.
And then you could just move because you're trying to move forward. But that snake trying to eat its own tail and eat itself, in a sense, you are trapped like in an endless loop of not fixing yourself. And that's where you have to stop and break that chain, that cycle, and get on one. And then get back to a normalcy of a circle or a figure eight or an ellipse, to where it is just ongoing, but you have little moments within that to where you get a little off and stuff. But it should always be in this kind of ever-going circular motion, but you're bettering each time as you get around to that next point. So we recall that bad event. Here comes the next bad event in that, in that circle. Cool. I learned from that one. I know the emotions. Cool. And smooth sailing on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's that journey, but if you don't evolve with your mindset or, your emotions and how you take things in, you're just continually becoming the snake eating its tail.
Yeah. And a lot of people probably will listen to this or won't even hear this because they don't have they're good.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any work to do. Their bills are paid. Their kids are in school. They're at work, or they're in school. They're going to be the people that miss out the greatest.
I think, and it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone needs this. And I think some of the most successful people struggle with this the most because they're kind of more trapped by their emotions and addicted to other processes of their business life that they forgo to see the things that truly make a bigger thing.
Right.
Like in the book I'm reading too, everything is driven by money, but for most people, he talks about this was written in the 50s, so he doesn't pull any big names in, but names go through my head. These people, you're driven by money, you're driven by this, and this. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that, but what do you have left in terms of your happiness if money is driving it? And that's what the thing is. He talks about in that time frame, people are happy with this. So this is the 50s, mind you. I think it was printed in 51, publicated. So you get that sleek car, the new TV. Not much TV's out, really.
Yeah.
Not like we have today. Cars weren't as advanced. You're not getting into a lot of these brands and models. You got this house. It's great. You lose all that.
Yeah.
If you were striving for those things because it brought you happiness at the ever chasing of the dollar, what happens when you lose it all? Are you still able to be happy? And that's where he goes off and talks about what can we do as humans, as we are these phenomenally intelligent creatures, but yet the animals are more simplistic. They eat when they eat. They have sex when they need to have sex because the time frame's seasonal. They know when they need to reproduce. We are these crazy, smart creatures on the planet, but yet we are controlled by outside forces versus our own of what can drive happiness. And this book is by Alan Watts. It's Dealing with Insecurities. I can't remember the title, which, it's always eludes me, but it really dives into that aspect of that humans are trapped by more outside forces and those types of things, when internally you're trying to look for that happiness. Oh, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to make more money.
Yeah.
Well, that's all gone. What do you do for happiness when that's all that created your happiness for the past how many years of your life?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's time to start creating your own happiness.
It should be created. There's no one else that's going to do that.
No, there's not.
I can't bring it out of you, our spouses, our kids, your best friends. No one is going to bring it out. Like, you truly control your emotions internally.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have some chemical imbalances, but in all reality, there are things naturally you can do to fix that, because all the things that we experience have happened through the course of mankind in a different form.
Yeah.
Depression, psychological things, neurological things have existed since man stepped foot on this planet.
Right.
It just was different to them, and they didn't have the sciences behind it and the medicine to analyze it. But many of them dealt with it. There's proven cases of great historical figures that have bouts of depression. There were no medications for that, things that they did, and they journaled and they wrote and did these things to change. And it's a battle,
but
it's one that'll be really worth the fight and the struggle if you can maintain it to get
I think a lot of people probably think like, oh, well, we're in such a different time now. No, we've always had these issues. We've always had issues of, is there too much government or not enough?
Mm-hmm.
Is the school system the right one or the wrong one? Is that food good for you or bad for you? You know, can the human body withstand X, Y, or Z? And back then they thought they couldn't, and now we do. My point is this: we're no different. Really no different. There's that bell curve has changed. There's more technology. There's a lot of other things, but the basic principles of what makes a human tick, what makes them happy, take away, like you said, strip away all the bullshit, the periphery, what makes you happy. You can't answer that for anybody else. I know what makes me happy now, or what the thought of happiness is different now for me than it was even a year ago, much less 3 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Totally different people. I would say that you're probably the same.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have a choice but to change. We have to adapt. We've all been adapting for all this time. Having said that, there were people talking about the benefits of meditation and yoga and, you know, self-care in the 50s.
Yeah.
You go back and read a book and you're like, my God, how did this catch on?
I will say great one is Alan Watts, Ram Dass,
a couple of them.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah.
Probably say that wrong.
Yeah, Ram would have been a little later than the 50s.
Later. I don't know when
in his writings, at least. It was more 60s and 70s.
Right, but he was starting to merge in some of those people's books.
Totally. So,
and some others, but even go further back to Buddhist, Taoism, Zen.
Yeah.
This is, again, guys, way before Christ was a thought or a story in a book. Yep. This stuff's been going on since the dawn of man, and it only goes there because this is recorded times. It could have even been in Egyptian times, and it wasn't put in hieroglyphics or even further than that. These are things that mankind has done for an eternity of its existence. It's like Jeremy said, that bell curve just changed. It's a mirrored image. So when you take into like disease, plague, or their rough day, well, you flip-flop it and you can put here what we're going through.
That's right.
Oh, man, I don't have enough to buy food back in the day, or barter. Oh, flip-flop that. I don't have money.
Right.
It's hard with bills. You can take everything from existence of that time frame to now.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to worry about this animal attacking me. Okay, well, you can be attacked by the real world in a sense of flipping it and saying, man, I'm trying to go out there and get a job. You're fighting other humans for a position, for a better opportunity of life. You can take everything that they went through and flip it to a modern time. It's pretty simple. It's just going to take time to do it if you really wanted.
So imagine if you wrote a book, Jeff. We wrote a book, and it was about these very subjects. And in 50 years from now, somebody picks up that book and they say, oh, my God, this is life-changing. It's going to happen. Not that you and I will read it or write it, but somebody will read a book in 50 years from now, and they'll be thinking the same thoughts we are, like, holy shit, why didn't this become more of a thing? Why aren't there more people that are on board with a basic meditation program?
Yeah.
So you have to think, well, whether you do or you don't, you're going to make it through this life. Do you want to be happier than you've ever been before, or don't you? And I mean that without money, because with or without money, imprisoned or free, you can still sit with your own thoughts and find peace. And I think that as we go, more and more and more people will jump on board with this whole theory. But there's always going to be people that are naysayers. There's always going to be people where this isn't for them. This is woohoo stuff or whatever. Man, I can't even begin to explain. And Jeff, I'm sure you'd say the same. How my life would be different if I would have found some of these basic principles or sort of pattern interrupts, if you will, 20 years ago.
I agree. I think it would be way different, but then at the same time, you have to look at it that ourselves at that time frame in life probably weren't ready to take it.
You're absolutely right. And I don't mean to say that things didn't happen when they were supposed to happen.
It's just one of those things like
you're right.
What people are going through now, or how your mindset shifts, like no different than when we both became parents. Your mindset and way of thinking shifts different than when you were a teenager, or 20s, or whenever someone has kids, different things like that. And it's all these things, but we may not be at the right point or the right maturity or the right frame of mind to take in what this stuff is. Like, the funny thing is, really in the past, I don't know, 2-3 years, really dove deeper into more of the Taoist, Zen, Buddhist readings and teachings. But I have books from probably late 2000s to early 2010, 11, 12 of Zen books that I bought and read and stuff, because it fascinated me with the martial arts stuff I was doing. And I read, and I got a book about martial arts teaching, and it flips it to Zen and all the goofy things that are, I guess, passed down from martial arts masters, the things they made students do. And like, master, why did you do that? Like the one famous one I think a lot of people know is, the master and the student in the garden. Master, I want to learn how to fight. Why do you make me garden? And, and he's like this, he goes, and then the whole thing is, the simplistic of the whole point is, he's like, I'd rather be a warrior than a garden and go off to battle. So he's teaching him, but he's also teaching him other skills that will provide value. If you take a step back, he's teaching him how to garden, provide food, grow, feed himself, feed his family, feed the other members, also while learning to train.
Yep.
And obviously there's a lot of Zen processes that go into gardening. There's Zen gardening and the tea rituals, people, if you don't know that, but it's these little things, but it's the simplistic of things of time.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, time. Time's a big part of it, I would have never imagined that I'd be sitting here today worried about how much time I look at a cell phone, and how that affects my well-being.
Good point on, I can't speak for other phones, but iPhone, there's a tracker, guys. Look at your usage. I have mine pop up weekly.
Yeah,
I think you can turn it off, and I'd put it up. See how much time you spend on your cell phone, and it'll break it down. Phone, text phone, social media, fun. If you're watching movie stuff or like Netflix, emails, surfing, it'll break it down.
Yeah.
And it's nice for me to see, like, I think in a 7-day time frame, not doing the math on hours, I'm maybe between 3 and 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
Versus before, when my role was driven by that, it was like I'm consuming a whole work day in 7 days of being on social media.
Yes.
And doing this stuff. And that was part of my job, and I understood that. But you're being consumed and doing so much within that realm that you're missing everything that's truly happening around you in the world.
That's right.
That's why there's so much disconnect with us now from nature and all these other things that, as a lot of the Taoists and Lao Tzu believes, man is, and he wrote, again, this is before Jesus, he writes that man is so far disconnected from nature that we need to get to it. And that was in a time frame when none of this stuff existed.
That's right. Totally, man.
None of this.
Yeah.
And he is explaining that man has lost its way and has been so disconnected from nature that we need to get back to that equilibrium, that homeostasis with Mother Nature, to when the great way comes, we're all blessed and back on that balance of interacting with nature in harmony, that we can all flow together in this way of life. Man, to think, so I don't even know I don't know when Jesus roughly came about, but this is thousands of years. And then you got some guys prior to that, they don't know really time frame wise, but to think that a man wrote this back in those types of times.
Yeah.
No electronics. I don't know when the iron came about.
Sure.
Type of that, guns didn't exist. Simplistic of things.
Yeah. So what'd they spend their time doing?
And that's the thing, like you really learn, in a lot of the stuff I read is you became masters of that. Like maybe you were a painter, but you use that also in your meditative work to paint and tell stories. Maybe you were really good at writing.
Right.
Maybe you were good at gardening. Maybe you were good with the livestock. You had a bond with animals, like, oh man, Jeremy's the guy with that.
Right.
Well, I'm very good with crops. I need here, I will trade you
Sure.
what you can't grow. It became, and that's no different
communal, right?
No different than now. That's how businesses are run. This business is really good at this, henceforth why they became what they are. But they use their day-to-day practices as meditative traits to become masters of what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
No different than you creating the oils. You can be a master of your craft versus someone else could do it and you're just doing it for the dollar.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's where a lot of people get lost in their day-to-day life is, are you doing what you're doing because you want to master your craft to be the best at what you're doing? Or are you doing it because it just brings in money?
Yeah.
You know, and back when these individuals did it, that was their jobs, but they bartered. They weren't making, there's no salary being dropped upon them. It's, I raise cattle good. Cool. I will trade you one, for this. It was, and then there's people that still do that. I know you do that a lot.
Yeah,
Your
totally.
old school way, which
Yeah.
is good. But it's a way of life that's very interesting to think, guys, that a man wrote this before Christ was even a thought process.
Yeah.
That man has lost its way. And
Yeah.
if he were alive today, so it's Lao Tzu, Taoism, Tao Te Ching, simple. It's 81 verses. You can buy little pocket versions of it. I got one. It literally is as big as these cards. Yeah. And it's simple little reads. There's many of them translated, but a lot of them translated to pull it to words of our time.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked when you read this going, oh my God, I can relate to that right here now. And this book is thousands of thousands. Well, not that one, but the words are, and that's what I think is so cool that I think not enough people do is read or take in that, because you're learning from people who saw things that were happening that we're going through too.
Yeah, we just have a thick layer of veneer on top of all that basic shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We have so many things on top of that. Time being the one that's the thickest, right? You run out of time. Before you know it, you're 44 years old, almost 45. Not that I'd know anything about that. But, you really do have to consider that humans have had human problems since before Christ, right? This happened for a long time. Now imagine this. So that veneer, let's say we pull that veneer back and we're just all humans. Let's just say somewhere in the middle between, say, whenever Christ was around.
Mm-hmm.
Livestock everywhere. You got to keep livestock corralled.
Yeah.
You don't want them to get away from you, right? So imagine ourselves as no better than that livestock now, and we're going to look down from the top view. And let's say we're looking at a pen full of critters, and we're the critters. All right, we're humans, but for this, we're the critters down there. We're the mule, the horse, the cow, the pig, whatever it is. We don't have fences up, though, right? What we have is, what is that person going to think of me? Are these calories going to be too much for me? Is this workout going to be enough?
Mental fences.
Is this car going to be okay for me? Is this car going to give me the status that I think it should give me? Does this car mean anything to me?
Mm-hmm.
Is my job fulfilling? Now imagine everything I'm saying is another barrier. It's another part of the pen. We are putting ourselves into all these different situations that are impossible to get out of.
It's like an Rubik's Cube maze type thing. Yeah.
Unless you go back to the beginning and you start trying to read some of the stuff Jeff tells you about, you try to do some of these practices that we speak of, then maybe you start tearing down those pins that you've made for yourself. Maybe you don't care about the car anymore. So, oh, look, there's a way out. Maybe the house is way too big. Why to buy in the subdivision? There's another way out. I'm just not good enough at this. I can't seem to wrap my head around this task I got to do, and I got to hire somebody to do it. Okay, let's look around that. That's another barrier. What I'm saying is, it's no wonder that we're all fucking head cases.
Mm-hmm.
We can't even make our way out of a thought process, let alone a proverbial pen that we've built for ourselves.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
We got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
A whole lot of work.
Yeah, and that's a spot-on way of putting it. So I think that's good, guys. Like, listen to that and take a step back from all these little pens that you're in and Okay. And I started doing that 2021. I'd say 2019. Maybe a little before, but really in 2019, kind of really, I'd say 18 started, 19, 2020. I was just like, I kind of started opening those gates and walking out of them and was like, nope, I'm not being in this pen anymore, being controlled or saying that this is how things have to be when there's so much more. But if you're just so one-sided and this is all you see and you don't see the bigger view and take it in, you will always forever be trapped in a,
your own little thing,
cage, whatever.
Yeah. It's like,
if not, someone is controlling you to where you're in a cage because you're blinded and only seeing what they're showing you.
and that's a great way to look at it too. We are all chickens in a damn coop, and the key is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Stop spinning around and freaking out and just look for a second. The key's right there.
Yeah.
You can get to it, right? It's right there for all of us. The keys are right at arm's reach if you just see them.
I agree.
That's that.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, put a pin in it. I think I'm done. Are you done?
I think that's where we should end it. I think so that's too. A solid point that really wraps up everything.
Good. Me too, man. Well, stop looking elsewhere, people. Start blaming yourself because you know you owe it to yourself. The biggest man or woman in the room isn't the one that says they are. It's just not. It's the person that sits by and listens, calculates and plans. So, try to lean more towards that way and less towards the other. Maybe we all become better for it.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right then, guys. We'll see you next time.
Always, guys. Thank you as always.
Always. Peace. Thank you. See ya.